learning chapter 38, and we're on page Nun Aleph in the Hebrew, on the left side. And we're up to V'nechlekes. We're up to the where there's the Hagah, the footnote, but the parallel line to it. V'nechlekes gamkein la'arba madregas. So the Alter Rebbe said here that the guf and the neshama, the soul and the body, have their own amount of illumination. And it's there's two aspects to the inspiration of the soul and two aspects to the inspiration of the body. So now the Alter Rebbe says the same thing is in Kavonas HaMitzvahs and in Maaseh HaMitzvahs, in the folk intent of mitzvahs, the Kavanah, and in the action. Let's see how it says it inside and then we'll discuss it. V'nechlekes gamkein la'arba madregas. These two are divided as well into 4 levels. Keguf ha-mitzvah atzmo mamish, because an actual mitzvah, we call that the guf ha-mitzvah, the body of the mitzvah, they in the very essence, heim beis madregos, there are 2 levels, sheim mitzvahs ma'asis mamish. One is the actual doing of the mitzvah, and number 2, mitzvahs hatluya bedibur umachshava, a mitzvah that's dependent upon speech and thought, k'may Talmud Torah, the study of Torah, which is with your mouth, u'krishma, u'tfila, u'birchas hamazon v'shar, brachas, and all other blessings. So what do we see? We see that we're talking here about an actual mitzvah, and this actual mitzvah has 2 parts to it. One is putting on your tefillin, and which is Maaseh. You could think about tefillin and know all the halachas of tefillin and meditate on the greatness of tefillin and learn all the Kabbalah on tefillin. If you don't put on tefillin, you haven't done the mitzvah. Then there is mitzvahs, which if you learn Torah, you hear this? If you learn Torah and you don't articulate it with the mouth, you haven't fulfilled the mitzvah of learning Torah. When it says, v'dibarta bam, you shall speak in them in the Shema, it literally means what it says. So I always emphasize, it's important, Chavre, that when you learn, whether it's your chitas, whether it's Chumash, Rashi, Rambam, Halacha, Tanakh, Hashkafa, whatever it is, you need to say the words out with your mouth if you want to fulfill the mitzvah of learning Torah. So too in Tefillah, so too in benching, and so too with all brachas. So there's 2 aspects to the act of a mitzvah. So too, let's continue inside. The Kavonas HaMitzvah, we have 2 ideas within the intent of a mitzvah. One is l'dofke b'yizborich, to attach yourself to Hashem, shehi kineshama leguf, which this is the analogous to the soul to a body. Nechlekes gamkein l'shtei madregas, which is divided into 2 levels, k'may shtei madregas on the neshama, just like the 2 levels on the neshama, shein beguf hachumri, which is the physical body. What are we talking about? Shein chai u'medaber. We have an animal, a chai, a living organism, and then we have u'medaber, we have a speaking organism, a man. So we have a difference between a human being and an animal, but that's 2. Now within these 2, there is another 2 subsets. What is that? What type of illumination does the animal get? What type of illumination does the human get? Because someone who his mind is nice, meaning well, to know God, like Yoini used the word meditation, to ulizbainen. Look, he uses the word Yoini, ulizbainen, to meditate. Is on Hashem's greatness, and to bear fruit from this meditation, Yira Ilah, a supernal awe, reverence in your mind. In other words, you're so awed by this person that in your head, in your cup, in moach, you have that awe. And as well, v'avosi Hashem, v'avas Hashem. Also, you develop a love for Hashem. B'chol ha'yimoni, in the right ventricle shebelibi of your heart, where the blood is and all that. Blood comes to. Liyois nafshay tzmeil Hashem, because your soul thirsts for God. L'dof keboy, to cleave to Him. Aidei kiyam ha'torah, through the fulfillment of Torah, v'mitzvahs, the mitzvahs shehein amshoches v'ha'oris oiris of Baruch Hu, which is the illumination of God. Al nafshay, on your soul. L'dof keboy, to attach, to cleave to Hashem. Right? So what he's saying is that within kavanah, you also have two aspects. Well, the kavanah zu, and with this kavanah of cleaving to God, loimed, you learn. Why do you learn? Not just to know Shas, not to just Daf HaYomi. Why are you learning? Because everyone is learning on the LIRR, everyone's learning Daf HaYomi. And when you're going to come to shul and rub shoulders and drink scotch after davening, and it's going to say, "Are you learning Daf HaYomi?" And you'll be embarrassed to say, "No, I'm not learning Daf HaYomi." That's why you're learning Daf HaYomi. Learn such a daf, but okay, but that's not Dveikus. That's not Dveikus. You're learning for an ulterior motive. The same as with the rabbinate. I told you, my shver, my father-in-law, and others. This is before the Rebbe made a campaign. Every Lubavitcher student should get smicha. Didn't want smicha. It was considered. Who am I to be a rav? Even though I'm not a practicing rav, but they'll call me rabbi. Me calling me rabbi? You got to be kidding. The joke was in 770. The Rebbe sent out one of his first shluchim to Italy, to Milan, Italy, Rabbi Gorelik, right? So the joke in 770 was, my father was around and others were around. The joke was that his name was Gershom Mendel. Gershom Mendel became a Rav. It's like he was he used to daven for hours and Fabrain and the Chassidus. And all of a sudden the Rebbe says, you go in a place at the Beis Yaakov Shul in Milan, another Rabbi Perlau who left to Australia, and they need a rabbi. I'm sending you to be the new rabbi there. Me? It's like in the mindset of Lubavitcher Chassidim, it was the furthest things for them. I can tell you a lot of stories, maybe another time, how this was a truism throughout the 200 years. People who were really Baki Shas and knew Kol Torah Kula, Lubavitcher Chassidim, but you wouldn't know it from the outside. Literally, you wouldn't know it. By the way, Yerushalayim, there were such Jews also, Meir Shorim and Geul over there, the Shtiblach and this and that. I was told by people, there were people who were, for example, fixing glasses, glazers, or a glass of fixing glasses. And I was told that he knew all of Shas. You would come in, you would see him in a shtibel, you would think he's came out of the Bowery. Ripped clothes, not too clean, and the man was, and he wouldn't speak. You didn't know. So, the idea of Dveikus is the essential element, whether your learning is connecting with the right kavanah. And if not, it's learning if you say out the words, but it's chitzonius. It's superficial. Now, is it better than, playing golf and playing cards and surfing the net and wasting your time? Absolutely. Definitely. Yes, Hillel.
Just want to say, the Siva Shalom has a piece in this week's Parsha talking about how we learn our emotions in Avodas Hashem. We learn them from the expressions that the Torah uses for the desire that Hamor had for Dinah, including this term Dveikus, that's introduced in the Torah there. So.
Very good. So in other words, from that negative Dveikus, we learn positive Dveikus. Is that the idea?
That's right. Yeah.
Very good. If you're able, later, maybe make a picture, send me on the WhatsApp. I'd like to see that piece.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go weiter. Inside. Over kavana, 5 lines from the bottom, beginning of the line, Isser of the kavana, zuhu leim do mekayim mitzvahs, and with this kavana of Dveikus, that's why he learns, and that's why he does the mitzvahs. V'chein bekavana zu mispalel, and that's why he davens. Umevarich, and he benches birchas hamazon, harei kavana zu, al derech moshul. This type of kavana is analogous k'moy nishmas hamadaber, to the soul of the speaking being, the human. Shubal seichel, a human has seichel, ubchira, and preach will, uvadas yedaber, and he speaks with sense. He doesn't just yap and hakachainik and sound like a fool, but he speaks with yadas. What about someone who's not gifted, who wasn't given by Hashem such a strong mind, such a mind? Later is bound to be able to know and meditate on the greatness and awesomeness of God, to develop a love from his understanding, his godless libre that's revealed in his heart. And so too he's short in V'chein Ayira. Turn to the next page, 102. But he's short in his mind. He's not able to, and therefore he can't develop a real fear in his heart for God, because he doesn't get it. This is not about, instinctual feelings. There's a fire burning, there's a shooting. No, we're talking about through a meditation and an awesome, the real coming to realization. This is awesome. This is reverence. This is godless, and I understand it. And that's a mind work. So what if someone is not able to come to that conclusion? Is that person finished? Says the Alter Rebbe. No, but look what he says. At least he's able to bring some kind of feeling of love and fear from the recesses of his heart through the mind. So he uses the 2 words that the heart should be agreeable and willing. Maskim means agreeable, u'misratze means willing. Beritzu gomer, and he adds 2 words, with complete willingness. Be'emes lamite, again the 3rd adjective, with truth of truth. Limser nafshe bepoel mamish, to have actual self-sacrifice, al yechudi Hashem, for God's unity, so that his godly soul is attached, connected to Hashem and its garments, and to have them be incorporated in the unity and the oneness of God, which is God's will, which has expressed itself through the study of Torah, mitzvahs, canal, as we said before. What the Alter Rebbe said in these 3 lines to follow me, Chevre, this is basically chapter 16 in Tanya, which is the way I always remember 16 is the no heart palpitations when you're taking out the garbage for your wife. That's the mashal I gave you guys, right? There is a head that's able to meditate and contemplate so deeply and so powerfully that it moves the heart. It moves the heart to love, it moves the heart to fear, whatever. What if you don't have it? So the Alter Rebbe in chapter 16. So what you could do and should do, and what a Beinoni is charged to do, because a Beinoni is not a tzaddik, is to come to a point where you say, I don't understand it completely and deeply, but I know it's the right thing to do. And we're talking here about in regard to Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. I know it's right to love. I know it's right to fear. And you make a hesken. Now look at the language here. It's very powerful language. Hesken. You know what hesken means? An agreement. We're going through an agreement now, whether we like it or not. But like my daughter says, I've had peace. She lives in Tel Aviv. It's been quiet, right? Whatever. A heskim. At least now it's a heskim, right? A heskim has its results in the physical world. It's not a heskim on paper and then behind you do just the opposite. Again, whether it's that way with the situation there in Israel, I'm not a politician, I'm not a strategist, I don't know. But I'm talking about the idea as far as we're concerned. We're concerned is that I understand enough about Hashem and what he did and how he made a human being that I agree that I owe him my life. And I agree I should love him. And I agree I should fear him. Says the Alter Rebbe, that is enough to get your neshama to have the proper dveikus. And this is a big chiddush here. Because when you look into the Sfarim, you mentioned the Siva Sholem and other Sfarim, when you look into the classical Sfarim, Dveikus, I'm not even talking about Chabad, of course it has pages upon this, but even in other Sfarim, Dveikus represents, deep attachment. Dveikus isn't just a cursory, ancillary, a good feeling of, I like it. That's not Dveikus. That's Narishkeit. That's, again, like Isser said yesterday, it's more of you. That's not Dveikus. Dveikus is real attachment. And a real attachment implies, real holiness. Comes the Alter Rebbe says here in chapter 38, based on what he said earlier in chapter 16, that there's another aspect of Dveikus that's just as real for the Beinani. And here you see how this is the continuation of his entire first Sefer of Tanya, that the theme is the Beinani. The Alter Rebbe is not talking to Tzaddikim. He forgot. Tzaddikim, it's not his Sefer. It was a sefer that he wrote, and the tradition is it burnt up. It was like for the Shpola Zayden, Reb Melech, and Rabbi Chaim and Tzaddikim. This is written for us, regular people. So the Alter Rebbe says, you are a regular person. You're also shaykh to Dveikus. What's your shaykh to Dveikus? Come to a point where maskimim u misratze beritzui gomer be'emes lamitoi. I mean, those are like 6 words that are 1, 2, 3, 4. Heskim, misratze, beritzui gomer be'emes lamitoi. 4 adjectives. And if you do that, you are in the ballpark. Okay, let's continue. V'gam hayire klula bo. This the Alter Rebbe discussed in chapter 19, that this ava, this haskama, this agreement also leads to a awe that's incorporated in the dveikus of, let's say, call this Kabbalah Sel dveikus, acceptance dveikus. Sur meirava seitov. Shalei librid beichas v'sholem. The Kabbalah Sel, accepting the yoke of God, that you will not rebel against him. I'm not going to rebel against Kavana Zu, and through this Kavana, Sur Meira, both in not doing what you're not supposed to, Vasei doing what you're supposed to. V'leimed, u'mispalel, he learns and he davens, u'mevarech, and he blesses. B'firash amilis levadoi. You hear that? Saying the words and knowing the translation of davening and the bracha. Baruch Ato Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam blessed you God and yours Shakoil Niyab. Everything is created with His word. Simply, don't. I told you I've been at tables where someone took him 10-15 minutes to say a bracha. I'm exaggerating. It took him 2-3 minutes because he was thinking about the Yechudim that the Arizal writes. No, we're not talking about that now. But Peter Shamilas, look at the Alter Rebbe's words. And you know why he says that? Because he's talking to a Beinani, the average person. Those words of the simple meaning are not inspired with love and awe, because Galos Liboy, palpable feelings for God of love. I love you, God. When you say the bracha, you're in love with God. No, you don't have that feeling. Umaycha, you don't have it in your mind either. So what type of kavana is this? It's analogous k'moy nishmas achai. This would be analogous to the soul, not of a human, but the soul of the living, of an animal. She'eina bal seichel, who's not a master of intellect, ubchira, and doesn't have the strong free will, V'chol midosav she'ein yirasoim, and all of his emotions, which is his awe, mitvarim amazika moisei. An animal scared. The mouse is scared of the cat. And the cat is scared of what? face the lion or another animal. In other words,
Dog.
what? What'd you say?
Dog.
Dog, yeah.
Cat's afraid of the dog.
Afraid of the dog. So, in other words, it's all about who's going to injure me. Right? These mamzerim, these animals, these barbaric individuals, it's all scary. Look, they're continuing the truce. They've been bombed out of their head. They're running like chickens, chickens. They're running like chickens and scrambling. And they know that as soon as it finishes, they're going to go back and we're going to get this mamzer over there, the head. They're all just a matter of time. They're all going. It's just a matter of time. Now, I know we discussed yesterday the chickening out and all that, but at the end of the day, they're going to go. Again, not maybe the way we want them to go. The point being, it's chayas. That's what it says. Animals, chayas. Mazikim. They're damaging animals who want to hurt. So they get scared. If they know, and they run. And they hide, and they make tunnels, and they run. Let's continue. You see, our piece of Tanya has everything in it. Everything is included in a piece of Tanya. He says, an animal also likes things that he likes. So they go and they rape women. They like it. And then they kill them, those barbarians, right? And then they decide that they're going to get, maidens in heaven and all their narishkeiten. That's all a taiva. Hey, says the Alter Rebbe, so this is all natural. And it doesn't come from the animal's comprehension and the animal's mind. An animal's instinctual. So the Alter Rebbe says, this second type of Dveikus, which is the Dveikus of the Beinani, is analogous to this. So don't convince yourself that this Dveikus is the ultimate Dveikus. But the ultimate Dveikus is shaykh to a tzaddik. This Dveikus is shaykh to the Beinani. This might be one point of difference between the way the Chabad Chassidus looks at Dveikus and other Chassidus looks at Dveikus. This we would need an academic study on. And my friend David Seaman at Emory University, who knows a lot of Chassidus, and he's a very fine special professor, a PhD from Harvard. Maybe I should encourage him to write a thesis on this. So too, the natural, hidden, latent love that's concealed within the heart of every Jew, Kol Yisrael. As we learned earlier in chapter 18-19, it's an inheritance that we got from our ancestors. And it's like a natural thing that you're born with. Says the Alter Rebbe, it's true. We were given a gift. You belong to the Jewish people. You convert to the Jewish people properly. Then you're gifted with this Yerusha. But just know that it's analogous to the soul of an animal versus the soul of a human. And what we walk away with, and he's going to continue talking now in the next chapter about angels, very interesting chapter, the next chapter, because it follows this idea here. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that we're leaving at this point. Tomorrow we're making a Fabrenga for Yitas Kislev with Hashem. But right now, the Alter Rebbe left us with this idea, the difference between in Kavanah itself, there's two aspects. There is a Kavanah that's a human-like aspect, and there is a Kavanah which is an animal-like aspect. So although the Alter Rebbe seems to highlight, the human-like Kavanah, which is the ultimate, I believe that it's simultaneously, he's not leaving us in despair. He's also telling us, potential Beinanim, that just having the animal-like Kavanah, i.e., that it's more midos oriented, but nevertheless we understand that we understand that it's right to love and fear God and to do the mitzvahs. That's adequate. And one other point that he mentions in this chapter that I didn't articulate is, he said in the beginning, if you have kavanah and you don't do the mitzvah, it's nothing. It's garnished. So this chapter, I told you, for most of chapter 38, 39, and 40 are about the virtue of kavanah. But never forget that as kavanah must be expressed in Maaseh. But the question is our Maaseh, is our deed bereft of any sort of kavanah, or it has some sort of kavanah? So what he's saying here is that the ultimate Maaseh is it should have a certain degree of kavanah. So if someone asks you, is it important for me to feel, to be inspired from doing a mitzvah? The answer is absolutely. But don't be disappointed if you don't have those, heart palpitations of love for God when you put tefillin on in the morning. Understand? So you have to play it both ways. Chevre, have a good day. We'll tell other people to join us for your Tiskis tomorrow. Sei gesund. Shalom. Bye.
You got a question?
Yes.
You got a question I want to ask you just?
Yes.
Now, when I go over Chumash and Rashi, and I don't say the words, does this count as Torah learning?
No.
Then what is it? I mean, I'm learning I'm getting the knowledge behind it.
That's knowledge, but Torah learning, it says v'dibarta bam. You have to say out the words. That's basic. I know you're doing a good thing, Menashe, but if you technically want to,
I know that.
if you want to check off, the mitzvahs, the 613, including the mitzvah of learning Torah. So the answer, there's two aspects to learning Torah. There is the saying of the words of Torah, which fulfills the mitzvah of learning Torah. Then there's the idea of Yedias HaTorah, knowledge of Torah. That you're doing. Yedias HaTorah, like you said, you're getting knowledge. But you're missing the mitzvah of V'dibarta bam. So try to start saying it in Hebrew, in English, whatever. In English, it's fine. But you need to...
So when I listen to, let's say, a class of Rabbi Paltiel or something like that, that counts as the knowledge, though, right?
That's right. That's knowledge, but it's not learning. It's not. It doesn't make a difference. It can be God Himself. It makes no difference who it is.
To me recently.
Yeah, well, but I'm saying if Hashem Himself speaks and you don't say the words with Him, then you're not learning. I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes there are people in shuls listening to a shir, and they'll, under their breath, they'll say along with the rabbi teaching. That's to get the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. But again,
is that also?
Yes, what?
Is that also why when we don't? I heard the halacha is that if you're listening to the Haftorah, that you should chant it by yourself for the same idea. You do have to chant it, and that's what I do to myself, and that's what the halacha says. But I'm not sure if that's because of Talmud Torah. You understand? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. We have to look into the halacha. I remember I do remember that. They said if the Haftorah is read from a klaf, that the halacha is different than if it's just read from a sefer. And so I don't remember all the nafkamina.
Okay, we have to look into it. Chevra, have a great day. Menashe, thank you for bringing it up. It's very important. I really appreciate your honesty, and because people need to hear it, not just over here, but world over. Because it's a big issue, especially if you're coming from a Western society. You don't read a book. Jack said to pa. You just read like this, right? So it's a hard habit to break. So I appreciate what you said. You very, very important what you said. Sei gesund. Take care, Chevra. Bye.